What is this music setting the mood for, bud?
It's like we're coming online, you know? Like, yo,
I've heard this
uh,
music somewhere else before.
is it the strip club or the elevator?
Uh, yeah, we'll go with elevator.
And then you just turn it off. Maybe. Hold on. It's not working. There we go. I think it's I think it's off now.
Yeah, it's off.
All right, cool. So hopefully this goes pretty well. I don't know if I can drop the screen, the video resolution any lower. It's at like 720 right now. But I've tried to stream from hotels in the past. It's just not worked out. I think I was in Tokyo and I tried to stream with Jeff and it just was not happening. So we'll see how
So
this
if
goes.
we lose you, do I just have to talk to myself for the next 40 minutes or whatever?
Yeah, just start saying stuff like, you know, people will listen. I mean, people listen to Ryan and his dumbass fucking high angle rifleman's bullshit. So I mean,
Dude, I saw a
whatever.
meme. I saw a meme on Instagram this morning. It was talking about setting up something with a game changer on your belt, and I got it or whatever. And I keep scrolling through stories. I saw he had one. He posted a story where he double OBI linked his game changer to his belt. I was like, oh, that's what the meme was about. I couldn't go back and
Oh
find the
my
meme though.
god, dude. Uh, I know he had released information like I don't know if it was because of us or somebody else, but he essentially released like a chart of here's the rifleman's way of shooting high angle when you multiply the dope, you're treating dope as like a linear number, and here is the range times your cosine, your traditional high angle fucking shit, and then here's the ballistic calculator, and like none of them are lining up, but he's highlighting which ones are closest, and there's a certain point, like a certain range, where the rifleman Brian high speed high angle method is closer than the fucking traditional way by like a tenth of a mil or some shit to the ballistic calculator. And so interesting results. I'm like, there's nothing fucking interesting there. 75% of the time, your way is wrong. What's so fucking interesting?
Yeah,
Oh
I saw
wait,
that had
you did all the research you were supposed to do, but you did it later. Got it.
it. He
So
had it like from 4DOF and AB, I think, on there. That's the same
yeah.
chart I saw.
So hey, you'll be happy to know that I ordered and just got delivered to the house my Samsung S25 phone to replace my current phone, which is also a Samsung that does
Does the
not
new one?
have the greatest autocorrect in the world.
Say, does the new one have autocorrect? Because your messages are a little tough to get through sometimes.
This one has autocorrect too. It's not that old of a phone. It's not as good as Apple. I don't know why. But the new phone has got all that AI bullshit in it, so maybe it'll just start thinking like me and it'll open my phone automatically and start sending shit. I mean, that's what AI is
So
supposed to do, isn't it?
it'll just be grumpy all the time then. Got it.
All the time. All the time. Oh man. So we're going to talk about. It'd probably be a short episode, but we got the competition train up coming this weekend, and it was really a partnered class with SoCal Long Range Shooting Club, and I think it started off as a partner class, and then it kind of morphed into, well, why don't you guys just run it and we'll support it? It's like, okay, yeah, well, fucking, this is what we do anyway, so we're fine with that. And so we're gonna have some SoCal Long Range guys there. We gave everybody a discount who's with SoCal Long Range, and you know it's good, but you still got to go into this like you're not just showing up like, hey guys, fucking welcome to the train up. What do you want to work on today? Like, there's some thought that goes behind putting any class together, and this one's a little unique. It's not quite a full day, but I feel like it is. Like, yeah, it's not 8 to 10 hours long, but it's still 7. So you're starting at 7:30 in the morning, and you're finishing sometime around 2:30. So what? Because you get off, you get out of the range before 5 p.m. It makes it a 3/4 of a day. You're still getting 7 hours of shooting in or training.
Yeah, you
Am
sent
I
that
frozen?
training plan over and I was looking at like 2.5 hours. Like I thought these guys would be done by 10 a.m.
So I broke it up into phases for this train up. I had specific things that I wanted accomplished, and I felt like it was going to be best if the day was broken up into phases. So I outlined every phase with that document I sent to all of you guys to look over and kind of give me your feedback on, and just how much time per phase. If I have 7 hours per for the whole day, if I break it up into phases, I can now start working how long each phase is going to take. And am I putting too much into one phase or the other? Uh, what do I need for each phase in terms of like training task? Like what I want to focus on, and then what are the learning objectives that I want the students to walk away from? Round counts, and where can you find information on the subjects that we're talking about? And so it was pretty. I mean, it wasn't taxing to put all of this together, but the taxing part is what's the right word for it? Like the rewrites. The You got the initial draft, and then you go through and you say, okay, can we fit all of this in 2.5 hours? All right, and like you come back with, or these classes going to be a series. I'm like, no, they could be, but no, it wasn't. That wasn't my intent behind this particular class. This is like, hey, there's a PRS regional coming up. We're going to put on this train up class, and the the goal is immediate results, right? And so with that concept, giving them, I don't want to say a fire hose because there's so much more that we could throw into this course and just launch information at them. But there's a decent amount of information included in every phase. But the goal is the following weekend when they have that regional match, are they going to add to what their score would have potentially been? Like within 1 week, can we change their thinking, their way of doing stuff, whatever it is, to increase their score in such a short amount of time, right? And
And that's the
so,
hard part too, is getting, I mean, we could spend 7 hours talking about the 9 positional fundamentals and
yeah,
just crank those home, but we want to give them more than just here's how you kneel behind a prop.
yeah,
What else can we
and
shove in there to make it fit?
yeah, and so part of it is like, I guess you would call it like introduction. Would it be introduction? No, some of it would be more of like, here is what you are expected to know. If you're a top level competitor, if you have desires to be a top level competitor, here are the expectations for you, right? So, like phase one, fucking trying to pull it up here. Everything is just being weird as shit for me right now. Uh,
It's the same one you sent us, right?
yeah, my shit's just being wonky as shit. But so, like phase one specifically dealt with like getting them zeroed and a fundamental review. But when you think about like fundamental review, what are we talking about? I mean, what could we talk about? We could sit there and bore everybody to death with, okay, let's make sure your breathing, your trigger press is nice. Like those are important. Don't get me wrong. But are fixing those little issues going to get us immediate fucking points on their scorecard the following weekend?
Maybe, maybe not.
Right. So um, you can talk about those things, but I feel like there's other areas that are going to give us that immediate results. And so when we go through the fundamental review, we're focusing on, hey, here is recoil management. Here's why it matters. Here's what it does for you. Here's what happens if you don't have it. And then it brings in that whole consistency part from shooting prone to barricade, recoil management. So that's the fundamental that we're going to really harp on. And then we transition into the positional principles where we get to run them through the principles of shooting from the different props, the tripod, the barricades, the weird shit, right? And I feel like by teaching them what those principles are and giving them time to work on their recoil management and work on these positional principles, we're going to make some money there. These people who are showing up and trying to improve their score are going to get something out of that. If they're coming to this train up, they probably don't understand all those principles that goes into shooting from these different props. And so part of it is education. The other part is also educating them on what they don't know. And hey, we don't have fucking a whole weekend to work on this shit. So some of it is going to be an introduction of you got to improve in this area or go to another class that we offer on the weekends. Like, oh, you want to get better at this and you don't feel you got enough time? Well, come to PR2 because PR2 is built around this entire thing, which is odd because we have the March 15th competition train up happening. And then at this exact same time at our other range, we have PR2. And I mean, both courses are fucking topped out right now. We just got another competition train up, dude. I know we had one guy drop out from PR2, so we have a slot open. But both classes are pretty fucking full right now. And
Yep.
I mean, it's not a bad problem to have, but I mean, so that's phase one. And phase two, I wanted to start transitioning into making win calls, but there's more than just making that initial win call, right? And I have in the like the training task for phase two for win calls is not just using the win formula, because you know a lot of people will fucking use their ballistic calculator and just have that thing tell them what the win correction is, right?
Oh yeah.
But after that first shot is taken, what the fuck do? You gonna bust out your Kestrel and say, "Tell me what my next target win call is," you know? And
You'd be
so,
surprised. Some people will.
and so being able to take your initial win call, right? Because before you actually shoot, before you actually get into that stage, experience will drive a little bit of it, but without experience, a lot of it's a guess. Even how you conduct the stage is a guess because you're not quite sure that your plan is going to be that badass plan you thought it was going to be. And so it's kind of the same thing with the win. Boom, first round's out the tube. Maybe the target's only at 250. Like you have to be extremely nitpicky on what your win call was, where it hit, and is that win call going to assist you with making that 600-yard fucking win call? And that's kind of the shitty thing about Paula, not where we're doing our training, but the actual Paula range where they have their monthly competitions. You'll get some of those stages where it's like, shoot this 300-yard target on the far left side of this berm, and then shoot this 650 target way over here on the right going up the hill. And not only is your angle, your direction of fire different, but
The wind is completely different.
the wind up on that top right is fucking shit, dude. Like you learn nothing from that first shot unless you have the experience to either have shot there before and kind of know that things change up in that top right corner, or you're able to pick something up in the glass, right? And so being able to make that initial wind call, adjust from it, not needing your ballistic solver or your Kesha or anything else, right? Because once you're in the stage, you should be focused on shooting and trying to get every hit possible. And so there's a lot of wind in phase two, and how to employ that thought process, how to on the fly reverse your wind formula so that, hey, I shot at fucking target, 400. My initial wind call was 0.4. So let's say it's a fucking 6.5 Creedmoor and it's a 6 mile an hour gun. So you thought it was 6 mile an hour wind, you held 0.4 and you missed off the right. To get the initial hit, the fast and easy way to make the correction is
Drag and drop.
drag and drop. Exactly. But then now that you've got that hit and you're moving on to the next target, did you learn anything? Because you should be learning from that mistake you just made. Because now if you go to that 600-yard target and you only hold 0.6, you're going to get pretty much the same result as the 400. Right. And so after you do the drag and drop, boom, you get your hit. You're like, okay, that total amount was 0.8. You should be able to, in your mind, make that like familiarization or that quick math where you start to just process those multipliers. And so now when you get to 600, you're multiplying by 2. So now you're at 1.2, right? So a lot of wind in phase two. And then there's efficiency built into it as well. So if it's done the right way, which I'm sure Bert's going to have a great time with this, is having them make wind calls on random targets with different directions of fire, but having them also at the same time focus on efficiently getting into position on whatever prop that they're shooting from. And so, I've talked to you guys, and like in our classes, we talk about efficiency. It's not as important for, say, your average rifle shooter who just wants to learn how to shoot long range from a fucking position. But when you start getting into timed events, efficiency is everything, because if a dude takes a knee, gets on target, but then has to switch knees because he put the wrong knee down first, how much time is wasted there? Oh, well, it's only 3 seconds. Well, it's 3 seconds is a shot. And if you're fast enough, 3 seconds is 2 shots. But every little thing that you do adds up. So you're efficient in taking a knee, or you're inefficient taking a knee. And then when you were moving from this position to this position, you grabbed your rifle, grabbed your bag, you set your bag down, you threw your rifle up there, but you didn't deliberately set your bag down. So now your bag fell or it shifted. Now you got to fix that. And it's like tolerance stacking. And before you know it, you've burned 30 seconds doing dumb shit. And if you
And
could
look at that
just
on
save yourself time.
look at that on the flip side. You're thinking like a PRS, like can I get all my shots off? If you go to like a time plus event, like a gas gun match, that 30 seconds could be the difference between first place on the stage and 40th.
100%. Yeah. And I mean, it's been a while since I got to shoot in any gas gun stuff. And I remember some of the concepts that I had learned and developed over time. But then I forgot a lot too. And so when we were at the Vegas match and I was watching you, I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, I forgot.
Where
And
did
so
I
like
learn it?
little stuff like that, man, it saves you a shit ton of time to where you get to, the level that you're at right now, which is, I forget what stage it was, but I remember distinctly like you shot a stage in 24 seconds. And I'm like, see if I can do this. And then I get up there and it's like 42 seconds. I'm like, nope, don't got it no more. So like just little stuff, man. You know, everything from efficiently getting on target to acquiring the target and, you know, making that initial win call and rolling with it. Like it all comes into play. And so, yeah, anytime there's a timed situation, efficiency is going to come into play. With the bolt gun stuff, I always preach the efficiency because everybody wants to beat the timer. And it's not a gas gun match. You don't get any extra fucking bonus for being fast. You either hit the target or you don't. And then, you know, I love it when they throw in like, this is a tiebreaker stage. And so everybody is like, I gotta go faster. Well, if you just hit everything, nobody will tie with you. And so, you know, let's just focus on hitting stuff first and then we'll get the speed later, right? And so that pulls us into like phase three. So phase three is where we start to work strategy pre and post shooter process. And I feel like all three of those are really fucking important when it comes to the competitive side of this. And so for the training task, I have established the shooter's pre-stage process. And it's kind of like it's like a shooter's checklist, right? But when we traditionally think of like a shooter's checklist, we're thinking like you get down behind the rifle, you dial your dope, you set your parallax, like you go through all the steps to take a shot, right? Well, your pre-stage checklist is going to be all the steps to get prepared for that stage, right?
Dial
So,
versus hold. Which positions am I going to take? What gear am I going to take?
yeah, and that all falls into the strategy too. So, when you think about strategy, and yes, you have to have some confidence, you have to train, uh, but I mean, I think all of us operate the same way now. We've trained together long enough where when we hear the stage brief, the first thing going through our mind is how did they set up this course of fire? Because if it's a from this position, shoot this target, from this position, shoot this target, we already know. It's like, okay, I have plenty of time to dial. I'm only going to be dialing once per position. But if it's 3 targets per position, if there's 4 positions, that's 12 times you're touching your fucking scope. And
Way
it's
too
like,
many.
let me go to hold, right? And so like your strategy, you listen to the stage brief and you start formulating a plan, like hold dial. And then what's the prop? What's your initial thoughts on gear, right? And I say initial thoughts because this initially started with Russ, right? But then like for me personally, when I'm overseas, when I'm gone, and then I come back and I want to jump into one of these matches, I'll find myself where my experience has kind of dwindled and the confidence isn't there anymore, right? Because I'm just not shooting these matches all the time. And so I know that I'm a good shooter, but now I'm thinking like, how can I game this to give myself the best advantage possible? And so initially when I'll hear it, I'm like, okay, cool, I need a game changer. But the longer you sit there and get to think about it, the more you start to say, okay, maybe I could use a tripod for the rear on this, right? And so your initial thought, right? Don't forget about your initial thought because a lot of the times that simplistic thought you had is the right fucking answer. And then the more time you get to think about it, you just start to overthink it, right? Like one of the Paula matches, I think you were there. I don't know if you were shooting or just fucking hanging out. It wasn't the last one. It was the one in like last year or something like that.
I've been to a couple where I just RO'd with you guys.
They got those stupid fucking rocks over on the left.
I RO'd that one.
And so they were like, oh, okay, shoot from this rock and then this rock. And so like get down, shoot, right? But my plan initially was like, let's see, use a game changer. But then the more I looked at it, I was like, ooh, that tall rock could be a problem. Maybe I'll bust out the tripod for the rear. And so I did. Fucking set my rifle down, throw the tripod down, go over here, shoot, come over here, pull the tripod in. It's wobbly, the ground's uneven, and I fucked with that for so long. Like, I think it was a 10-round stage. I got 6 rounds off. I was fucking irritated with myself of overthinking such a simple stage, especially when once I got on the rocks, I was like, this is pretty fucking stable. I didn't need to do this shit at all. Like, but I'm committed at that point. Like, might as well try it now. Fuck.
Well, that's part of that
So,
experience versus confidence thing too. Like you haven't been doing it for a while. We do it all the time.
yeah.
Even at the Mason Valley, the hunter match me and Russ did a couple weeks ago. There was one stage, I think it's actually stage one, stage two, somewhere over there. It's this tiny little spot, not made for 2 people to be in. It's meant to be a single person match, but they have a team part of it. So Russ
Yeah.
gets in there. I get the tripod rear set up for him. We're shooting off a tripod. They're close. They're like 250 and 60 yards, like hard to find but easy to hit kind of thing. So
Yeah.
Russ gets off the tripod. I throw my gun in the tripod. I'm fucking with the tripod rear. I stick my ass in a cactus. Like, God damn it. Eventually, I told Russ, just get this fucking tripod out of my way. He takes the rear
Yeah.
tripod. Bing, 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 bing. Like, sometimes simple is better, especially when things are starting to get a little hectic.
Yeah. 100%. Right. And so you come up with like an initial gear list, right? And maybe you don't have that initial. Well, you have the initial gear list, but your final gear list comes after some further evaluation. How much time do you have? What are the rules? Do I have to set a tripod up on the clock if I want to use it for rear support? What gear can I have? Like, are there gear restrictions? And then this is a big one. I think people often overlook it. How big is the target, right? Like, if you're on a wobbly ass position, but you're shooting a man shot, a man size IPSC at 300 meters or 300, do you that target? Are you going to be on this barricade the entire time, or is it just that shot, that target? Like, you kind of have to process the size of the target and what they're asking you to do and the level of difficulty, right? Now, if we're shooting from that wobbly ass prop and it's a 1 MOA target, okay, let's consider options to improve our stability from this shit position. But the size of the target, I think, definitely comes into play. And the gas gun match we did when I was back there for SHOT Show, that was one of those little concepts that I completely forgot about, right? Because I was thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, I need to hold, obviously. I need to be fast. I want to try and attach this to the rifle. I'm going to do this. And I was like writing down what my holds were and what I was going to dial for the first target. And then you had come over and you said something like smart ass shit to me. And I'm like,
That doesn't sound like me at all.
got me thinking. And I'm like, wait a minute. And so like I look at the target, I'm like, fuck, the targets are huge. Like I don't even need to fucking aim for the first target in a precise manner. Like as long as some part of my reticle is on the target, you're gonna be a hit. So I was like, well, why dial for that target? Why don't I just dial for the second one? So then I start looking at the second one, and the second one is like a 3/4 IPSC. I'm like, fuck, this is the same thing. Like, I don't need to be dialed 1.8. I could dial 2, still hit that bitch, and that's gonna make my third target just a 1 mil hold. And so, some of those concepts again, like have started to fade from my memory a little bit, and it was cool to get back into that style of shooting and thinking about target size and really just hammering home like strategy, right? Strategy is everything. So um, once you kind of go through every phase of the strategy, then you're going to come and you're going to start looking at what is my post stage process look like and understanding why it's important to do a post stage process. And, for me, like I've discussed this on other podcasts, but, as soon as I get done, I clear my rifle out, I go set my shit down, my turret goes back to 0. I go back to my bag, I fucking load a magazine, put it in my belt, And then I start looking at, okay, this target, this target, this target. I held this, and this. This was my win calls. I missed this target. Why did I miss this target? Because if I can identify a bad win call or something, right? Maybe it's that top right corner of Paula range. Is there something weird happening up there? Why was this call wrong, but this one was right? Like what happened in that space? I'm really just trying to identify as quickly as possible, because there's other things that you got to do, right? Like to be a good teammate, to be a good just competitor in general, you're gonna have to spot, you're gonna have to help pick up people's brass. Like you want to be active in all of that shit, but also take care of yourself, right? And so there's a little bit of selfishness, but take care of yourself, get yourself back in working order, right? And then do those other things. And I say that because the minute you break away from that post stage process, like let's say I set my rifle down, I don't zero my turret out, not a big deal. And then I go over to my shit, I write a few notes down. Somebody says, hey, Tyler, can you spot and run the tablet? Okay, cool. So I come over, I fucking spot, run the tablet. Now we're running off to the next stage. And then I get up there, they're like, shooter ready. I pull my mag out. I'm like, oh, fuck, right? No mag. I didn't load it. And so I don't know if you've noticed, but I will always have a magazine in that front pocket leg of my fucking
Yep.
shooting pants, and then one on my belt. And normally it's just there as like a plan B, like forgot to load a mag, or I start to have mag malfunctions. I'm just going to drop it and run to the next mag. Like whatever the fucking case is, I never want to be caught in a position where I'm not going to be capable of fixing something that went wrong.
That's
And
part of
so
why
that post stage process,
that's part of why
go
I
ahead.
wear the chest rig for gas gun stuff. I got 3 mags across my chest and one in the pouch, just in case I forgot to load a mag, one goes
Yeah.
down, whatever. Same thing with the bolt gun. I have 2 bolt gun mags in my chest rig. So this one starts fucking up on me, just switch it. Who cares? Next. Or if I forget to load a mag, I got 12 rounds with me.
Yeah. And that's not really strategy. That's experience and habits coming into play, where it's like, for law enforcement, for military, we call it like SOPs, like standard operating procedures. And so you should have those as a competitive shooter. What are my standard operating procedures? And for us, having that capability of spare mags is a big one. Like, fuck, I should have a spare mag with me. Something
This might
happens.
go this might go
And
slightly off
so,
topic, but let me pick your brain on this one. So you talked about that selfish part,
yeah,
right? Like before I knew you when shooting with you, you had the reputation of like, oh, this guy's a prick at matches. Because guys would try to talk to you, but you'd be in the middle of doing whatever it is you're zoned in on, right? Loading your mags, writing your notes, whatever it was.
yeah,
So the Yuma matches, the last few, I've been asked to squad bomb. I'm one of maybe like 5 people
oh,
at that match shooting for series points. And the last match, I was like, man, fuck squad bombing. I'm never doing this bullshit again. What are your thoughts on that? Because we're not getting paid. We're still paying competitors just like everybody else. And we have a little bit more on the line than, the guys that just show up to hang out or shoot or whatever. I want to tell the guy, no, I'm not doing
yeah.
this, but I also feel like a dick because I'm one of the experienced guys and should be helping out. What do you think, But
I think it depends on how you look at it, right? I mean, from your perspective and even from mine, like I don't want to be there to fucking to run a stage to herd fucking cats. Like, hey, let's go, hurry up. Like, I don't want to be there for that. But I understand like that's the nature of the beast for these matches to go, and you know, so I just when I get asked to do those things, I try to use it as I guess like an opportunity to improve myself, not for like human interaction, but how much better does your process have to be in order for you to do those things?
is the time to do that at a
How
national
much?
series points match, or is it to do that at a Vegas match that doesn't have series points attached to it?
I mean, we don't get to pick and choose the times when these opportunities present themselves. I would hope that it wouldn't be at a national level match, but sounds like that's the situation that you're in. And so for that situation, I'd probably say yes, just because like you want to be that good ambassador for like the sport itself. But at the same time, if you got a squad of, I don't know, let's say 10 people are in your squad and they're like, hey, will you be the squad mom? It's like, okay, yes. I would immediately start fucking like looking at the shooting order and identifying, you know, somebody who's around me in the pecking order to say, hey, you know, at this time, I'm gonna need you to take over. Or, you know, finding two people in the squad and say, hey, you know, I'm the squad mom, I'm gonna be running this, but I'm going to need you to take over at this point so I can get my shit ready, right? And so, um, also, you're the driver of the bus at that point. And so you read the stage brief, and I feel like there's a lot of benefits when it comes to being in that squad mom position. One, you're reading the stage brief. And so you're going to have a clear understanding of it. You're going to be looking for the targets and having to show people where the targets are. So your knowledge and understanding of where those targets are going to be will be at a heightened level. And then how much time before that first shooter is called up? Well, you're dictating all of that. And so you can read the stage brief to everybody, say, here's the targets, here's the targets, here's the targets. If you got any guys have any questions, here's the prop. All right. Don't bring your rifles up here, but feel free to come up, touch the prop if you want to. I'm going to give you guys about 4 minutes to go through whatever shit you need to. And then that first shooter, I'm going to call you up. And so now you've given everybody, including yourself, 4 minutes to run through that. And then you're the fucking guy, right? And so other people on the line who are not in a responsibility role, they're fucking off, they're watching fucking Saturday football like I do, like whatever it is. And meanwhile, you're up there, you're watching every target. You're watching a guy shoot because you got to make sure he's safe and he's not fucking, you know, moving from position to position off safe. So you're seeing the positions and how well they work. You're watching targets and where people are predominantly missing and what the win calls are, you know, failing. And so I think there's a lot to gain from it. I think a lot of times when you get put into the squad mom position, you you get made to feel like you're being rushed, but at the end of the day, like you're the one in charge of that squad and you're controlling the pace. And so I think it's a shitty situation that you can turn into a positive and make it work the best you can for you. Um, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to do it at a national match, but there's a lot of benefits to it. So I could see how, you know, if you control the pace, you can make it work. I have faith in you. It doesn't seem to be fucking bothering you
Oh,
there,
it
Mister
bothered
Fucking
me. It
chasing.
bothered me at the last one.
You're chasing number one in the nation. Did it? What did it end up happening? And based off of what I said, like controlling the pace, fucking being able to see the spotting targets, and also watching shooters go through different stuff and what's affecting them, what's not. What affected
So
you
the
the
gas gun
most?
matches are a little bit different when you're the one, I guess, watching the shooter, because you have to have the timer.
Yeah,
You have to be close, especially if the guy's running a suppressor. So I can't see the targets downrange. I
yeah,
can't see the wind. I can't see, trends. Everybody's missing right on this target because there's a hill blocking the wind or whatever. I don't get to see any of that. So at some point I do get to switch off, but half the time that's like, oh shit, I still haven't loaded my mag from last stage because somebody asked me a question about what we can and can't do, and I forgot. So I'm always feel like I'm just constantly
yeah.
stuff mag, fucking run up and shoot. Like there's no, I don't get to go through my prep time like I usually do.
For sure. So with that, like, I agree with you. It's a shit fucking situation. Um, because as you become that top level shooter that everybody's looking to, they're going to start asking you to do those things like, hey, can you run this? Can you be this guy? And so coming up with your process is a how you would be the squad mom and how you want it to operate and how it's going to allow you to run everything without putting you at a disadvantage. Um, I think that's a process that you got to develop. Like, you're the fucking boss, dude. Hey, I need you to hold this timer next to that guy. You're not shooting right now. You're fucking off over there. So hold this timer. And now that's one less responsibility that you don't have is using other people in the squad to kind of like uh, delegate your authority to, you know.
Maybe that's an improvement
Um,
I need to make
hey,
because I'm
hold
good at
this.
being the bad guy boss. Like, no, stupid, you can't do that. But wanted to make sure that other guys aren't getting screwed out
I
of
mean,
points and times and stuff. Try to keep the experienced guys running things, but
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and that's, you know, that's the gray areas where, you know, you want to give these guys, especially the newer guys, more benefit to improve themselves. But at the same time, like, you don't want to take away from yourself at such a large level either, right? So personally, I would look at getting others involved, delegating some of those things. You know, having somebody else fucking run the tablet. You're spotting, someone else is spotting, and, you know, like, just switching it up, because you can also show value in every one of those jobs by getting the newer guys involved in it. Like, hey, I need you to spot. I need two eyes on this. What's that guy getting out of it? Well, right now he just thinks that you're fucking telling him he needs to spot and help you, but in reality, you're helping him learn and identify where these targets are. Or he's getting to stand there and hold the timer and watch how a shooter is moving through this position, and hopefully he's gaining some information on, like, oh, this guy did this and it didn't work out, right? So, um, and plus, I would try to slow down some aspects of it, not the shooting part, but I try to slow other areas down so that you're not forgetting to load your magazine. Um, you need a process, right, to be a squad mom, and it just sucks that you had to start developing it at a national level match where you're like, oh fuck, like, it is a Sin City thing, right? You learn those things at the local matches so that when you're asked at a bigger match, you know what to do.
yeah.
So,
I may
yeah,
I may just
kind of
delegate
blows.
this next one to Derek. He's in my squad, so suck it up, new guy.
Yeah, he is the new guy, dude. He is the new guy. So he's coming this weekend,
Sunday and Monday.
and he seems pretty excited to fucking smash that
See if he can
mover.
hit it. See if he paid attention when I taught him how to shoot movers.
Okay, so if you get him out there, right, and he's the first shooter on the mover. Now, the way that the mover is set up right now is, let's see here. The way that the mover is set up right now, we're changing the position of the mover, but it's not going to happen by the time
Yeah.
your class comes, right? Most likely it's going to happen in April when the muscle is back home and can go fucking dig dirt and move shit around. But I want it to be behind the 100-yard berm, back at the 225 line where the KYL rack sits. The issue with that is like, you got a nice fucking flat area right here, but I have an extended track. And so it would extend over this little fucking, you know, Bert calls it a gorge. I don't know if he's ever seen a real gorge before. It's not a gorge, but it is
It's a
kind of
rut.
like a little creek bed. Yeah, a little rut, right? And so I went and bought like 30 fucking center blocks to build like a track platform going across that area. And so your track would seamlessly go from ground to cinder block to ground. Uh, but it's a lot of fucking work, man. Like, you know, just to put the mover where I have it now, which is it runs along the side of the 100-yard range, and you would shoot it from up on top of the fucking
Yeah,
field
it's held up
skills
by a
position,
sawhorse and a
right?
cinder block.
Again, like, the ground is weird as fuck there. You know, I've been trying to get a fucking excavator to come out and just finish leveling that. Like, I didn't realize how bad of a problem it was until the guy I'd hired initially had left. And then like I get down in the prone and I'm like, fuck, we're looking slightly uphill, and it's not a lot. If you think about it, like 1 degree at 100 yards is 5 feet.
Damn.
That is a 1 degree fucking upslope. That's all it is. It's 1 degree. Now it lets the water fucking run downhill, but it really blows ass when you're like trying to like lay down and you got to get those bipods kicked out, and then there's just all kinds of improvements. This is not a range improvement fucking episode, but there's obviously always things that we want to do better. And so I had gotten like a big ass bulldozer and I hired another guy. And I don't know if you remember this, but Vanessa
I
started
remember.
calling you and Russ, right? I haven't heard from Tyler. It's fucking midnight. Meanwhile, I'm just over at the range with no cell service, fucking driving this fucking bulldozer because this dude I hired, he told me, get this bulldozer. I'll be able to do anything you want. I'm like, all right, all right. They deliver this motherfucker. He shows up. He's out there and he's just like, I was up on the high angle putting in land navigation fucking sticks. And I'm looking out across the valley and I see him and he's just kind of like driving in fucking circles. But the range doesn't look any flatter. And so I go down there. I'm like, dog, what's up? He's like, yeah, you were right. Like, I can't get through that rock vein over there. I'm like, well, motherfucker, I just paid $4,000 for this equipment, and you're telling me you can't do the job I need you to do. And he's like, yeah, it just won't cut through it. I was like, you said this fucking D5 whatever would cut a fucking hole in a mountain. Well, here's your mountain. Where is my hole? He's like, yeah, it's just not going to happen. I'm like, all right, well, get the fuck out of here because I'm not paying you anymore. And so I still have this bulldozer for fucking hours. And I just start fucking going to town, dude, like cutting shit out. And the range ended up getting cut in layers, right? That's the best I could do. And so when I decided to put the mover there, the track was so long that it went out over one of those layers. I'm like, what the fuck? Well, I guess we're going to put some center blocks under this bitch. And then there was a sawhorse there. I was like, this works well too. Like, and I had to get a mini excavator from Home Depot just to cut that trench. Like, fucking, there's a lot of shit, man. But so what's the mover distance at right now? If you shoot it from like position 3 up on the field course, you're
Probably
at
250.
what is that? 2. Yeah, so that's not a bad range. The only shitty part is like having to go up to that position. But then on the instructor side is, with the old mover, now we have a new motor, we have new fucking switches. It's fucking awesome. But with the old setup, if it ran off the track, if the fucking thing didn't engage, now you got to run your ass down there. What did Bert say he had to do? Like
Yeah,
six
'cause it
fucking
got right
times
off the track.
up and down. Oh, dude. And so, it's in a shit position. I do like it, but I feel like we can put it in a better spot. So we're going to move it. But you take Derek up there, you're on position 3, and he's the first fucking guy, right? And are you going to tell him how fast it's moving? Because now we have up to 9 miles an hour. You can program this thing to do different speeds. So you're gonna give it to him easy, 9 miles an hour?
Well, did we figure out the remote thing yet? Can I change it from up there?
Well, I'm waiting to hear from Bert, but the one that we purchased has a remote. From what I was fucking reading, I believe it can be controlled from the remote, possibly from your phone. So I guess we'll find out. But
Yeah,
you
I'm
still
here.
there? Tell me you're not frozen right now. Is it
I can
my
hear you.
service? Okay. So maybe if it's at 3 miles an hour and you give him the law enforcement qualification, which is 5 rounds, got to get 3 hits, and your first shot has to be a hit or it's a fail. Is he going to pass? No? Oh shit. I hope Derek's listening. I want to see not because I want him to see that you are fucking not having faith in him, but I want to see if he accepts the challenge that you don't believe he can do it, and he's gonna fucking try
Now
extra
I
hard
can't
to
tell you
make it
why I think
fucking
he will
happen.
fail.
So,
I don't think the mover lead won't be the problem.
oh, go for
I
it.
think
Send
he'll
it.
do something else dumb, like he'll forget to dial or he'll forget about wind. It won't be the mover lead that'll get him. It'll be some other aspect that he completely forgot about because he's so excited about shooting a mover.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. And
And you can tell
so,
how excited he is.
oh, I can't even get the website to pull
You
up
can tell
right
how
now.
excited he is by that message you sent us the other day. And even I've fired back like, you need to take about 20% off of whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited that he's bringing the welder out. I mean, we all got different excitements around here. My excitement doesn't lie with the mover right now, but hey, I'm glad that we got it back finally. I appreciate In Motion Targets fucking working with us to get our shit replaced pretty fucking quick. I mean, even all the issues that we had with like shipping and stuff, we finally got it figured out. And it's been a long time coming, man. Fucking, I don't know if this is a blessing or, it was a curse, but, we got robbed. Fucking range got broke into. They stole the original mover. And, was it was it a year? Was it a whole year that we went
Oh,
without having that
it's been longer
mover
than that.
system?
It's probably been closer to 2 years.
About a year and a
Yeah.
half? Yeah. The fucking robbery happened in what, July 2023?
Dude, I'm pretty sure it was before that. That might have been 22.
No, not the first year I was out overseas on
I
that
think so.
contract, was it?
Because I only set the mover up maybe 3 or 4 times after
Damn.
you left. It's been a while, dude.
Huh. That's crazy. It has been a while, man. So, I mean, this shit's not cheap though.
No, it's
It's not
not.
fucking cheap. And on top of that, I always had it in my mind of like, if we're going to get another mover, I want it to be the one that gives us multiple speeds. And that one, I mean, if you look on In Motion Target's website right now, that's a $17,000 purchase. It's not fucking cheap. And so, I mean, it really just comes down to like what you want to spend your money on, and when you can afford to spend that money,
And how we keep it
So,
secure from now on.
anyways, yeah, the mover. Oh, dude, yeah, how we keep it secure is a big one. A lot of people have been hitting me up about upcoming courses like, hey, I'm in PR2, hey, I'm taking the competition class, or I'm in law enforcement, I'm doing this in May, yada, yada, yada. Like, there's been a lot of fucking questions. It's on the website that there is no lodging, but we still have a spot on the website that says like this is our facility, and it shows the old guest rooms before they got fucking raped and pillaged by the fucking vandalizers. And so people will be like, oh, is there lodging or is there a hotel I can stay at? And you know what I'm excited about is hopefully, and I don't want to go into too many details and jinx it or somebody swoops in and fucks this deal up for us, but the large purchase that we're about to make to add to our training facility, which will fix all of our lodging problems. What do you think about that,
Oh,
man? Like, do you have the same level of excitement, or are you just thinking about all the extra work that's going to go
it
into
won't be
having
that
this?
much extra work. I'm excited for it. Having a toilet and a shower would be phenomenal. That's what I get excited about. I know. I know
Yeah,
Bert's
dude.
excited for the shower.
Shit. I mean, you're not excited for a porta
I
potty?
don't mind the porta potty.
You don't like the porta potty? I mean, in the wintertime, it's really nice and cold on your ass. It like wakes you up immediately.
So that's not the problem. The problem is waking up at 3 a.m. when Adelitas kicks in, like, oh man, and it's blowing 40 miles an hour outside and it's 30 degrees.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, man, a lot of cool things happening, cool things coming. But to finish off what we're talking about, like setting up a training plan for this particular course, right? Um, Conduct and understand a post-stage process. Develop a strategy relative to a given stage brief. and then execute the stage. So those are the training tasks. And kind of the learning objectives that I put into phase 3 is understand the purpose of the pre-stage checklist and then develop one. And then understand the purpose and value of the post-stage checklist and then develop it. And I say develop it in every one of these because, Nick, your process may not be the same as mine. And Bert's may not be the same as either one of us. And so I think it's an important distinction that you educate these students that you don't have to do our process. Like that is the way that my brain works. That is the way that I have developed my method of madness. But you don't necessarily have to do everything in our fucking order. You need to figure out what works for you and where you can allow your mind to take you so that you can hit all the wickets and accomplish the end goal. And so I put develop in there because I feel it's important that everybody goes through and develops their own method. And then receive and evaluate a stage brief for strategic purposes. And so this is where we start to get into the strategy. They hear a stage brief and, okay, give me these key pieces of information you took from that and what were your initial thoughts. And then develop a strategic method of execution, which goes through a list of 5 things. Your method of target engagement, which is, am I dialing or holding? 2, develop your course of action for the course of fire. What is your plan? You know, like some of them can be pretty fucking unique where you have like that big ass metal structure with all the different fucking squares out at Paula. And there's been times where they're like, you have to shoot from 5 positions out of these 15. And you're like, holy fuck. And so now, as a shooter, you got to go through and have this plan of like, not just what's going to be most stable, but where can I be most efficient? And so, number 3, identify gear needed to accomplish the desired course of action. 4, observe wind and establish base wind correction. And then 5, conduct mental rehearsals of the stage. And I feel like that one right there, you know, and that wasn't that I can't take credit for that. I read the book With Winning in Mind of an Olympic rifle shooter, and he talks about these mental rehearsals. And since I've implemented that into my game, it's been a huge boost because mentally, the brain, right? If I just close my eyes or if I just look at the structure, the position, and I look at the targets, I am running through the stage like I've actually done it. But every position, I'm associating a target with that position. So I'll look at the position, say, okay, I'm going to go kneeling here, and I'll think about how I'm going to grab my rifle, how I'm going to grab my bag, how I'm going to get into this position to be efficient. And then I'll look at the target. I'll even say my dope to myself. So I'm trying to memorize every target's dope so that I don't have to look at that fucking card hanging off the side of my rifle as much as possible. If there's 5 targets and I can memorize the first 3, I've just saved myself time. And so I've mentally rehearsed this, make any changes I need, say, that might not work. But then I want to get 3 to 5 reps of the final plan rehearsed in my mind before it's time for me to go up there and fucking game on. So mental rehearsals is a big fucking sticking point for me. I feel like there's so much value in it and it's not treated accordingly. But from your perspective, right? Like I still compete. I still do really well at bolt gun. I'm not at the same level of gas gun. I'm not where you're at. Like, do you find yourself doing these mental rehearsals? And is it a conscious thought, or is it just become habitual and subconscious of you sitting there and going through your mind of how you're going
So
to
this kind of
execute?
goes along with what I was talking about with the squad mom thing and not getting to set up the way that I want to set up. So think about like the gas gun stuff. It's all holdovers, right? You may dial the first target. After that, you're holding everything. So you have to remember holdovers. One
Yeah,
of the big ones that no one thinks
yeah,
about is your magnification, right? Some guy.
Oh
That's
yeah,
huge in
huge
gathering.
one.
So what I like to do is I'll sit on my
Yeah.
binoculars while everybody else is shooting. I have 10 power binos, and I'll use that 10 power to gauge, hey, is this too much zoom to try to move and find these targets? Well, I know if it's too much, I can back off. If I feel really good at 10 power, cool, I run the stage at 10 power. Kind of use that as a gauge for what I
Yeah.
want to do, but I'm also going target to target, even sometimes out loud, saying my hold. Bottom edge, center, 3 mils, bottom edge, center, 3 mils. And I'll follow with shooters and I'll say it out loud. And I'll do this, I don't know, however many shooters I can get it in. But going back to the squad mom thing, like I don't get to do that. Or I don't get to do it as much as I'd like.
Yeah.
So
No,
by
for
the time I
sure.
get up to the stage, I never
Yeah.
look down at my wristband because in my head, I already know bottom edge, center, 3 mils. And in my head, I know exactly what my reticle is going to look like on those targets.
Yeah. No, you're definitely executing that or exercising that short-term memory. And yeah, for the squad mom thing, I mean, you better start volunteering at Vegas just to get your. They're going to ask you again later. You know it's going to happen. It's just gonna. It is the way
Derek
that it
up,
is,
you're
you
up,
know.
buddy.
So, uh, yeah, and so yeah, mental rehearsals is a huge one for me. And then I've got execute a competition rifle stage under a time constraint. All right. And so when we execute this class, like for this phase of training, we have 2.5 hours, right? This is a 2.5 hour phase. And so you got to cover the pre-stage, the post-stage checklist. You got to start working that strategic part and like the thinking, right? And then hey, we got this stage. We got this stage. You probably, maybe get 3 stages. Out of 2.5 hours, maybe we'll get through 3 stages with, I think the class is at 15 people right now. And so we'll have them split up. Each person's running a different stage and, you know, they'll be practicing this post stage checklist. They'll be trying to strategize how to go through this. And the stages that I want to set up, I'm trying to be pretty vague about it right now just because Bert's going to run the class. He's going to be the one that sees what's actually there in terms of like the targets, and
Props.
he can have the freedom to change things up, the props, right? But I am trying to set up 3 stages where it's going to challenge you mentally in different ways. Like this stage, right? Every stage that I put together is not going to be very heavily dictated. There's going to be a lot of freedom in there to give them more opportunity to make their own fucking mistakes. You know, like I'm not going to tell you you have to hold. I'm going to let you fuck this up and learn from your mistake, right? Because ultimately, you know as well as I do, is learning from failures is it resonates and it hits so much harder. And so I want them to experience some of that hardship with these stages, and they'll be under time constraints, right? Now, the reason we'll only be able to get through roughly 3 stages is because I want them to run that exact same stage. Nothing will change, but this time there will be no time limit, but they have to run it the exact same way that they chose to run it under time. And if there's a difference between shooter one shooting under time constraint 90 seconds and then shooting the same course of fire with the same fucking gear, right? Minus fucking pretty much
Just a
nothing.
part time.
He's just not under a time constraint. Yeah. Does his score get better? Why? Why did his score get better? If his score got better because he had more time, okay, great. That's understandable. But if his score got better because he didn't have the stress and the pressure of being under a time constraint and he's not rushing through the system anymore, now we've identified a problem. It's like, okay, so when you were under a time constraint, you felt that you needed to go as fast as you could and you only hit one target. In the same amount of time when you weren't under any pressure to shoot, you hit 5 targets before the time would have expired. But you let yourself get pressured and rushed by the time aspect of it, right? And that, I feel like that's always a constant battle with yourself, right? Is trying to block out that desire to let time get to you, right? I know that you've got a time constraint, but who's putting the pressure on you? Is the fucking clock laughing at you and telling you to hurry up, or is that internally happening with yourself? And so I think this is an internal battle, and it's one that, especially with the bolt gun stuff, you have to overcome, or you're just going to keep getting worse, right? So, I mean, there's a million different ways to skin this. I felt like this was the best use of our 7-hour block, but I'm still going through, and is there any last minute changes that need to be made? Like, one of them I've been thinking about is, you know, how in depth do we need to get with making corrections? Is that a component that will allow for immediate fucking point accumulation on match day a week later? And if we feel like working on making corrections is going to be more valuable than something else, then we got to cut something out to put something in.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
The more
And
you talk
so
about this,
asking Bert,
the
what's
more you
that?
talk about this, the more I keep thinking Bird is going to have to be on his A game just to keep these people in line. Because any one of these topics could derail into a half-hour breakdown. Any single one of these,
100%. 100%. And
or
so,
even in AI,
again, not trying to like throw Bert into the fire. Yeah,
even
go
one of
ahead.
the other guys that's helping out, kind of going off on a tangent a little bit. Same thing could derail this thing half hour to 45 minutes, just jumping topics.
Oh, I'll have very specific instructions. Like, the goal for me, and I've told you guys this, is like, the goal for this course is immediate results, right? And yes, there are going to be people with questions. There are going to be things that could derail you, right? But it's trying to stick to that timeline, and also just being upfront with the students of like, hey, there's a lot that we could fucking run down different rabbit holes with. But the idea here is that we're introducing you to thoughts, process, and concepts, but we won't get to execute all of them. We won't get to, you're not coming to a 7-hour course and walking away a fucking brand new man with better habits and, you know, like, that's not fucking
Yeah, we're
realistic.
crushing.
Maybe if we were working on one fucking skill for 7 hours, you would walk away a better person. But right now, we're introducing you to what you don't know, showing you what the right way is. Hopefully, you're taking notes and you're going to train these things into yourself over time, or you're going to come back and you're going to train with us later over a weekend or a 3-day course. But the expectations have to be managed 100%, or it could get derailed really
There's no way
quick.
to crush.
And with
There's no way to crush
no,
two 3-day
go
classes
ahead.
plus a 2-day competition class. So 8 days of training into 7 hours. There's no way.
No, there's not, and that has to be understood. It's just not possible. But we can get a lot of fucking learning done out of this 7 hours. You can get watched by these competitive shooters who are at the upper echelon of their game, who will give you on the spot corrections and help answer some of your questions. But there's got to be an understanding of like, this is so much stuff packed into 7 hours. Some of it's introductory, and some of it is, let's work on this, let's fine tune this process. Oh, you're a competitor, cool. Well, you have it. I'm assuming everybody that's coming to this, right? Just looking at the roster of names, I'm not seeing a bunch of people who are brand new. There's a few competitors who have listed that they've never competed before, and for them, it's going to be a little bit of a fucking like, got to keep up with the crowd, but education in groups. This guy's really experienced, this guy's not experienced, and like, when you put them together, there's learning that's being shared all the way around. I think it's going to be a good time. The stuff that I'm printing out will hopefully be a huge asset to Bert. Not just dropping him into the fire and saying, "Have fun, dude," but printing out those student books that follow this template for the 7-hour course, and it lists out all of these topics that we're talking about. And so they're able to follow along. They're able to write notes under each one of those subjects while he's discussing it or he's describing it or he's doing a demonstration. And then, they can continue to take notes. And included in the student handout is the competition stage, um, like workbook. So essentially, like, you get the stage brief and you elect to hold, right? You're going to dial first target, you're going to hold for everything else. And then this is the gear you're going to use, and then this, and then this, and then this. And so you write this stuff down, your initial decisions that you made, your mental rehearsals. Was it done? Check that box. Okay. Now your post stage, you go through, you do all your shit, and then you write down your notes, right? But it's asking you specific things. How did your plan execute? Well, if your plan fucking failed, why did it fail? Right? What did you do that caused it to be such a fucking cluster? And I think that's a very valuable portion of, we see it with, I'm not trying to throw Vanessa under the bus or anything, but we still see it with her. Now, granted, she still does well. Like, the girl can shoot, but there's times, especially because she's not competing as much as you and Russ and Adrian and fucking Derek, but there's times where she won't shoot for an entire year. And then she'll come out to Paula, and yeah, she took 15th place or something like that out of like 50, which is really good. Not taking anything away from her. But how many stages do we see her like, you know, well, I just couldn't fucking see where I was missing. And then she'll go to another stage and she's like, I just couldn't see where I was missing. It's like, well, at some point we have to correct that problem. You know, why couldn't you see what you were missing? Well, every time I shot, my recoil would go off to the right. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. How do we fix that problem? Like, and so you kind of deal with the same thing because even though she's been on the team for what, 5 years now,
2020,
she's
yeah.
still, because she hasn't competed as much over the past 3 years, she's still at that beginner level when it comes to like understanding and being able to fix your own problems on some things. And so she's got some work to do, and she's kind of in that same realm as other shooters who will just execute a stage. They'll shoot really shitty, but what's going through their mind? Like, are they down on themselves? And she'll get down on herself. She'll like, how many, not because of me, not because
I
of
knew this
me
next
fucking
question.
coaching or yelling at her, but how many times has she like, been on the verge of crying because she had a bad stage? And you got to block that shit out. You got to like keep a clear head, say what the fuck went wrong, let me prepare for the next stage. Like, one bad stage is not the end of your match. And even if you have 10 bad stages, who fucking cares? Like, take the time to learn from every one of those stages, and maybe the next match will be better,
One thing
right?
I've noticed a
So
lot with her is
uh
she would shoot a lot
yeah, it's
and
gonna be a
she
good
would be
time.
putting all that pressure on herself, right? Can you hear
Go
me?
ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So when she was shooting pretty
Yeah, I can
okay,
hear you.
yeah, when she was shooting pretty regularly, she would be a 35th place at Paula shooter, right? Beating herself up on stages. She took that basically year off and came back and finished 15th, that she had never done that well
Yeah.
before. So she may just be one of those people that needs to not give a fuck and she'll show up and just do well. I think I lost you.
That's definitely an aspect of it, is where you can get too much into your head, and it could psych you out, man. Like, you could definitely psych you out and fuck you up. And so I don't know if she feels pressure just being on the team in general. Um, But yeah, that's, experience, practice, training, that weeds a lot of that shit out. Like we talk about experience, match experience is super valuable, but so is just putting yourself in these challenging positions and knowing how to deal with it and manage it. So, uh, I mean, across the board, like she's no different. A lot of these competitors are going to be in the same position as her. So I think it's important that we have this student handout that kind of covers this specific course, and then they'll also get the Max Ordinate handbook take with them and be able to reference. But in terms of like how much deeper could we go with this? Do you remember when this course was 2 days
Yep.
long?
The competition class, absolutely. Yeah.
I still got you. You there, homie?
Hello.
So the competition class, it was kind of broken down where like day one was all fucking fundamentals, positional, like just mastering the positional fundamentals, wind calls, like no time at anything. Like, let's work on different phases. Let's work on position here and moving to position here. Let's work on getting in a position for the first time and what's your time on that? Let's get that down to 15 seconds. And then day two was all about strategy and incorporating your checklist, your strategic thinking, like pulling some of that experience in, putting you in shitty positions and making you think through the process. And I really dig the shit out of that course. There's just not enough people on a competitive level willing to pay to come train at that high of a fucking mark. Like people think it's fucking cheap to execute this stuff. Well, it's not. One, I can tell you it's not cheap, but two, you're paying for the experience and the way that the course is laid out to benefit you. And so you wrap all of that up into one. How many dudes are out there that are competitive shooters that are like, I will pay $700 for a 2 day course? Like, I feel like competitive shooters often fall into that. I'm pretty cheap fucking, I'm pretty cheap when it comes to training, but I'll spend all kinds of money and take out loans to build the perfect rifle.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong
Does
on
that make
that.
sense?
The competition class was actually the first class I ever took with Max Sword.
Yeah, it was the first class you took. And
You're
so,
talking a minute ago about
anyway, man, this has been a good discussion. We're at 1 hour, 17 minutes right now. And I feel like everybody in the hotel is starting to wake up and jump on the Wi-Fi because I'm having a lot of glitchy issues, and even you are coming through weird, and it's just starting to get fucked. So I'm just happy that we got to sit down and do this chat, talk together, and I'm gonna jump off of here before it just gets worse and people start hating us for our shitty fucking internet connection.
yeah, it's
Can
all
you
you,
hear me?
buddy. My internet's good.
You're still
Not
frozen.
on my end. We're good.
All right, buddy. Hey, man, I appreciate your time jumping on here with me and having a good time. Everybody else, thank you guys for following, for watching, for catching up. You can find this and many other episodes on our podcast channel, Max Ordinate. We're on all the major fucking outlets for podcasts, Spotify, Apple, all the good ones, all the little ones too. YouTube, if you want to watch the video and see Nick's frozen face on my screen. I don't know what the actual video is going to look like, but to me, he's frozen. And see some of the comments on here. There's still a lot of stuff on patreon.com. You can go to Patreon. We stopped uploading a lot of the podcasts to it just because you can get the podcast for free. But being able to upload some of our instructional videos, our PowerPoints, some of the classes that we teach are on there. You can reference them anytime you want. Become a member. We got different levels. We got just the standard level, and then we have a VIP package, which if you sign up for a VIP, all it's doing is every 3 months you're getting some kind of gift. You get a coffee mug, a fucking some kind of like sweatband. There's a hat, like you're getting a gift every 3 months. And so, check out the VIP if you're interested. But for the training aspect, I've been put a lot of stuff on Patreon. So give it a shot. Patreon.com/MaxHornet1. And then don't forget to check out the Shooter's Brief with Nick here and his partner, Nick Helbert, who also runs law enforcement classes for us. So, yeah, appreciate you guys. Until next time, I'm going to finish up my job here in Guam, and I'm going to be headed back over to Japan, and then I'll be home in April, Nick. So until then, I'll catch you later, buddy.
Later, homie.